Alright guys, Wayne back here with this roll center and camber gain video. Kind of reminiscent of the one that I did with my old B4 so many years ago. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about how this short, long arm double wishbone suspension works. There's a lot of talk about, oh, it's a theory. It's not a freaking theory. People design chassis for new cars all the time. Everybody knows how this works, except maybe the RC community where they think it's a theory. It's a theory. I have my own belief system. Well, let me tell you how it does work, all right? You've got these links right here, the top and bottom. You've got a hub behind the wheel here, and you've got these pivot points and upper control arm links. That's a wishbone. This is a wishbone, okay? It's double wishbone. It's short, long arm because this link is shorter than this link. And that produces this magical thing called camber gain. So you notice this wheel, like if you've ever had a lowered slammed car and you lower it down and the camber causes it to tuck into the fender. See how it does that? It gains camber. That's called camber gain. And the reason we have camber gain is so that when you're in a corner and your car decides to roll and it's like compressed and rolling, guess what? It maintains contact patch. If this link is too long, the tire will roll over more and it will start to slide because it's lost the ideal contact patch on that tire. So that's camber gain. That's why we run with a certain static amount of camber, like starting with 1 to 2 degrees. And then as the car moves around the track and sways back and forth, that upper link is the primary driver, the angle a little bit as well, but it all goes together to make the camber gain, keep the tire lined up with the patch, right? So that contact patch, right? It rolls over on the sidewall, slidey slidey, no more grip. Now it obviously wants to stick really good to my pit board, but that's the story with camber gain. The other piece is your roll center, and we all talk about roll center. It sounds very, very smoke and mirrors and black magic, but it's really not. As you go through a corner, the car, let's say that you're turning right, okay? So your wheels are turned, whoop, and now the car is going to go into a corner and it's going to lean. Well, why is it leaning? Well, it's leaning because this tire has friction right here, because assuming it has a good contact patch, it's going to stick to the track. And as it leans, this arm down here is pushing against it, and it's literally going to do this. Yoink! Right? It's going to lean over. And what it's doing is it's taking this link and it's pulling the chassis over. So the higher this link is, doot, 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 the more it can pull this car over. Okay, that's more roll. As you can see, it jacks up a little bit here too. So basically, as you're going around the track and your car is wanting to lean, this link being lower makes it lean less and stay more level and have quote unquote more support. As it's higher, it'll want to roll more because this upper link here is pulling the chassis over, because pulling from down here is way less leverage than pulling from up here. Now that's very exaggerated. We're going in increments of 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters, whatever. I'm running, I don't know, what have I got on there? I think I've got 1.5. Yeah, I've got, 2.5 there. So 2.5 if I don't have the factory team block there, or camber mount. So like that is 2.5 total. And that's where it needs to be. And the more that this link is raised, that is a lower roll center. And that's just saying that the car rolls more, because the virtual point that it rolls around is like down here. If that link is higher, the roll center will go down lower. If this link is raised up, the roll center will go higher. And the point is like all the roll center is like, this is where my car rolls around. It's not really, it moves all around and everything. But the point is that raising this, more roll, lowering it, less roll. It's the opposite over here. This and this do the same thing, this and this do the same thing, and there's lots of things in play, how far the leverage is from the center of gravity, etc. But regardless, the point is all these things work together. When you're going very slow around the track, like you're coming out of a corner and your car is kind of squaring up and you're slowed down in the apex, ready to shoot at a jump that's right on the other side of a 180, a lower roll center is going to make you have more grip starting out, because any little movement of the car is going to help roll a little bit and gain traction. But when you're in a high-speed corner, that roll is going to put less force on this outside tire, and it's going to send more of the force into this spring. So when you're going around a corner and you're like, oh, I've rolled so much, now you're starting to rotate. You're starting to rotate because your roll center is low enough that the rear end is rotated off the contact patch of the tire because of the length of this camber link and how much it's deciding to roll. And now you're starting to rotate. Now as the car starts to lose speed and it levels out, now you're sitting there level and you want to go straight. You're gonna blip, open up that mod motor, hit the jump, and you've got good traction starting out. Of course, as soon as you transfer weight to the back, it hooks up. Now, so basically this roll center, a higher roll center means that in a corner at high speed when you're leaning, you will have more force delivered to this tire. It's also going to traction roll potentially more. A lower roll center is going to allow it to roll over more. You're going to break the contact patch, and you kind of have to set that roll center up so this length is essentially saying this is the total amount of contact patch I'm going to maintain. If I shorten this link up, like I'm on a bumpy, dusty outdoor track, basically this car is going to be going all over the place because it needs this chassis roll to maintain grip, right? And when it's doing that, that tire is staying more level with the track surface. On a high grip track, this is a longer link because as I'm going, I don't want a traction roll. I want this to start to slide a little bit, right? Also, I want my car to be more level and I've got more roll resistance because otherwise the car is just going to be like out to lunch and it's going to be impossible to drive overreactive, right? So those things really work together. And the general rule of thumb here is higher roll center gives you more grip when the suspension is compressed and less grip when it's just at the apex of a corner. So if your car is going like up to a corner and then as you let off throttle, it just goes spins around, roll center is probably too high. If you're going into a corner and you press it hard and then it over rotates, roll center is probably too low. If you can't get any of those right, could be that your spring's too stiff or your links are not the right length. Anytime you change this link or you change the spring, you need to go up and down here or up and down here to get that roll center to have the bias for high speed and low speed grip the way you want it. Any change you do here, if you lengthen this link and go, I'm going to go longer at the hub, it's going to lower your roll center. It's putting this lever arm between where it hooks up closer. It's more choked up. It's going to give it more leverage to pull the car over. So anytime you change this link, you're saying, hey, I'd like to deal with less traction as the car rolls, but then you also have to go back and understand that you modified how much the car will roll as well. Kind of like you went to a softer spring or you laid your shocks down. So you're going to have to mess with this. On the four wheel, you got big steps, so you generally do it out here. It's the opposite adjustment out here as it is on the inside. On the two wheel, you generally can raise this up and down in small increments, and you do it here. You can do it here, but I try and reserve this for toe and anti-squat adjustments, and maybe large swings in roll center. Generally speaking, the closer I can run to center on those pins, the more I want to do it. So in any case, just kind of to wrap up, rule of thumb here. This is how much grip you have total when you roll, out by virtue of are the tires going to stay in contact with the track because they're leaning over. The amount of roll you have, less is going to send more force through this tire in a corner. Less roll because it's not sending it through the spring. If you have more chassis roll, it's sending the force that would normally go through the track right here into the spring, and is really storing it and releasing it as you come to the apex of the corner. So that's the rule of thumb. Low speed, you have a little more grip at low speed with a lower roll center and way less grip at high speed with a lower roll center. Higher roll center, i.e. less roll, you're going to have more grip in those high speed corners on demand. And you really just have to balance that. If you can't reach the right balance, you're talking about maybe you need a different sway bar, which I don't have one because I run on dirt on the two wheel, or you're going to need a different spring or a different angle, but they're all interconnected. The number one thing here is you can't change this and then go, oh, it did X, because it did two things. Not only did it reduce your camber gain, but it also, if you changed it out here, it made the car roll a little more. So like if I go 1 millimeter here, I know that I have to lower this about a 0.5 millimeter here to maintain about the same roll resistance. So like if you change the lower arm, you change your pills, like, oh, it did X, Y, Z. Well, did it? Because you need to change these links or this link up and down to get that roll resistance back where it was, so you can really evaluate what the other change did. You change this, you change this, you change the arm length, you change the hub positions, any of that. you have to ask yourself, okay, I did that change. It made the car feel really bad one direction, really bad the other direction, whatever, doesn't matter. Go back and tune these up and down. Go run a fresh battery, sauce your tires, come in after 2 or 3 laps after the tires are warmed up and not, slick anymore, and then change these, go up and down 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter at a time, and figure out where it needs to be. And ask yourself, can I get the car where it's good doing this? Well, if so, now I can compare that change that I did elsewhere to know if it was a good or a bad change, because changing all of this stuff is interconnected. It does multiple stuff, right? Don't be silly. Don't think, oh, I changed this, it did X. One thing doesn't do one thing on the car. It's all connected. Double wishbone is just crazy like that.